Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Ari Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, Be'ez Hashem, we are back here on Dabereish Zayin. We are up to Iker number 7, Zayin, of the Ani Mamins of the Rambam. Ani Mamin be'emuna shalema, shenevuas Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, hais amitit, Yeshu av lenevim lekoidmim lefanov ulevayim achrov. We believe with a perfect faith that Moshe Rabbeinu, his nevuah was true, and he is the father of all neviim that were both before him and after him. Before we get into this, I just want to explain what this means. What does that mean? He was the father of neviim before him and after him. Right? Maybe we can understand after Moshe, we can understand because Moshe Rabbeinu wanted there to be leaders of Klal Yisrael. He made a point of requesting who's going to be the next leader. He thought maybe it will be his own children, but in the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose Yoshua ben Nun. But the point was that Moshe Rabbeinu requested from Hashem that the Klal Yisrael should not be left without leaders. And when their Klal Yisrael is worthy, during that span of time, it was a long time, they had Nevi'im for over 900 years. There were prophets. So I understand afterwards, but what does that mean? He was the father of the Nevi'im before him. He was a father in nevuah. He was the father of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Right? How could that be? So l'chayr is just a pashup shot. The pashup shot is that we only know that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were Nevi'im through Moshe. It's because we have Torah's Moshe. It's because we received the Torah that we know that there was a nevuah of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, which means the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu is what gave credence to the other Nevi'im. Now, of course, the nevuahs of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov came before. There's no question, right? Obviously, chronologically. And it's through those nevuahs that we're still here today. But l'maisa, when it comes to the avos of nevuah, it's still from Moshe Rabbeinu. It says, I believe the Rambam says, that when Mashiach comes, then he will be a chacham. Maybe, I'm not sure, like Shlomo, or even greater than Shlomo Melech, who was a Anav Mikol Adam. Sure. I think greater even than Shlomo Melech is chachma. But in nevuah, it will be close to Moshe. Meaning, the chayra, Moshe Rabbeinu nevuah is still going to be higher. Then, why? Because that's what we say, lo kam k'Moshe oid. Right? We say it in Yigdal. There won't be another navi like Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah was dependent on us receiving the Torah. It was a completely different thing. All the other Nevi'im, their job was to enforce the Torah and to inspire the nation and to wake people up. And that's what Mashiach's job is too, to get Klal Yisrael to do tshuva and to lead a nation in Torah Avodas Hashem. Mashiach's job is not to bring Torah. We have the Torah already. He's going to be a great Talmid Chacham, and we're going to be able to learn things up, and we're going to be able to understand things. Eliyahu Navi come and will also teach us from what his learnings, and we'll have a greater understanding of Torah. But nobody's giving the Torah min hashamayim anymore. We have it already. And there's not going to be another Matan Torah. There was one already. Really, that's one of the other Ani Mamins, is that the Torah is finished. There is no new Torahs. Well, it was in Shem when we get to that. So let's start over here. The nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Kvar hidbar b'chelek gimel, mohus nevuas Moshe, shederech Moshe, havar dvar Hashem liyisrael be'echo shal b'kvoidu be'atma. We already explained back in chelek gimel that the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu was a nevuah on the level of b'kvoidu be'atma, as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu was speaking directly to us. Moshe Rabbeinu was not Moshe Rabbeinu. He was just a kli of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what he was. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was speaking through the mouth of Moshe. That's why the Torah was given only through Moshe Rabbeinu, because that is what the Torah is. The Torah is Hashem. So if the Torah was given through Moshe, it means that Hashem was using Moshe as his kli. Right? When you're talking about a worker, and the worker is using the hammer is he's hammering in nails. So who's the one who hammers in the nails? Is the hammer hammering the nails, or is the person who's banging the hammer hammering in the nails? It's just a kli. So that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was. Moshe Rabbeinu was a kli for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why the Torah, which had to be purely from Hashem, went through someone who didn't have anything of himself at all, which is why it says about Moshe Rabbeinu that he was Anav Mikol Adam. Because he understood that's what I am. Hashem wants a kli, I'm going to be that kli. It means I have nothing for myself. Only what Hashem wants for me. I'm going to be that kli. He and his words are one. He and his desires are one. It's talking about Hashem. Nimsa sheshabbos kodesh mamish inyan nevuah Moshe. So what comes out is that the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu is the same thing as Shabbos. This is as much as we said Shabbos is a clear view of Hashem. Hashem's coming in. Hashem is coming into the world. It's only Hashem. We just have to be quiet and we can be with Hashem. Like we described that Shabbos is like the Beis HaMikdash, where we can feel the Shekhinah. It's the same thing as Nevuah Moshe. Nevuah Moshe is we see Hashem. That's what it is. We see Hashem. Because what Moshe Rabbeinu was saying was from Hashem. Everything as we explained it previously, that through the foundation of Chidush, which we said, the Yesh Me'ayin, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has no rules and can control and do everything and change everything. So it must be Ein Od Milvado. It must be there is no one but Him. Nimsa she'emes lamisa shamtzos kol hametzius b'kol rega he lo al yedei malach v'lo al yedei sarah v'lo al yedei shliach. It must be then that all of existence is only coming about from Hashem, not through any other power that there is out there, not any other representative, any other malach or anything. El Hashem yizbarach v'kvodo ba'atzmo. It's only coming from Hashem. Everything, all of existence was, is, and will always be from Hashem. Nimsa, what comes out, a Shabbos Kodesh mivareres as a kavodu ba'atzmo shal Hashem yizbarach v'torach ha'olam. Through Shabbos, we can get to that understanding. That's what we should do. I think we spend some time talking about one of the avoiders that a person can do on Shabbos. What can I do? Practically, what can I do? Work on your emunah. Work on your emunah. How do I work on my emunah? What do I do? Well, think about my existence. I'm here. Why am I here? Think about it. I'm here because Hashem wants me to be here. Hashem wants him to be here. Hashem wants him to be here. It must be everything is from Hashem. It must be everything is from Hashem. If everything's from Hashem, so then he's everything. And here I start to be mechazik ma'amunah. That's what I can do on Shabbos, because that's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is ein ol milvado. Shabbos is yesh me'ayin. Shabbos is the representation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. It's Hashem's day, like we said from the first year. Shabbos is Hashem's day. Shabbos is the day where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is coming to reveal himself to us. And that's what we could do. Actively work on our emunah. When a person's walking to shul, what could I be thinking about? I could be thinking about, wow, it's Shabbos. Shabbos means that it's the seventh day of the week. Why are there 7 days in a week? Where did that come from? Who decided that there should be 7 days a week? I think there should be 10 days in a week. I actually think that, 10 days is a little bit too long, too much work. Maybe we can make a 6-day week, 5 days. This way, longer weekends, right? Especially in America where you get really long weekends. So that would be great, right? Who decided on a 7-day week? There's no astrological reason for a 7-day week. There is an astrological reason for a year. There is an astrological reason for a month. There is an astrological reason for a day, for half days, but there is no astrological reason for a week. There's no reason for it. The only reason is because that's how Hashem created the world. Again, why do I use astrology? Because historically, and even till today, that's how most countries have used time, have measured time. In the Far East, they have similar calendar, and also in Islam, they have a very similar calendar to we do, that we have. Their new year or their new months go based on the moon. That's how it works. And because historically that's been that way, that's what makes sense. So when you think about Shabbos, what Shabbos? Shabbos is the 7th day of the week. If it's the 7th day of the week, that means there must be 7 days. If there are 7 days, why are there 7 days? Who decided there are 7 days? Where'd that come from? Must be Hashem created the world. If he created the world, it means there was nothing before. If there was nothing before, so then what was there? There was only Hashem. Obviously, there had to be a creator. Somebody had to create it. Something had to happen, right? Even when we said you go back 15 billion years, but what was the day before the 15 billion years? What was that? Or a year before the 15 billion years, or 10 years before the 15 billion years? What was that? What was there? There must be there was a creator. And that's how we can get to Amunah. By going back to that shoresh of Yesh Me'ayin, which is represented in Shabbos. If through Shabbos, so we can understand that the true existence is only from Hashem, it must be, for sure, it's possible to have a nevuah like Moshe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu couldn't decide that there could be one human being who actually could be panim al panim, like the pasuk says. One human being. It's very interesting, because where does the pasuk say that Moshe Rabbeinu had a nevuah, panim al panim, by HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We just had it. Parshas Kisisa. Right by the Egel. By the lowest place at Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael did the Egel, the Midbar, right after Kabbalas Torah. Yet over there, it talks about the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu and the greatness of the Rachmanos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael. But specifically that relationship that Moshe Rabbeinu had with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, it talks about it also in Parshas Ba'aloischa, about the Lashon Hara that Miriam spoke about. Moshe speaks about it there as well. But here in Parshas Kisisa, we see the great milas of Moshe Rabbeinu, specifically in the lowest points, one of the lowest points that the Klal Yisrael ever experienced. Anyway, just an interesting thought. Same thing, and so too with the regard to that connection that we have of Ava and Chesed. Since that closeness is a clinging together with Hashem Himself. So too, in our communication with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's shaykh to have this love, this devotion, this closeness of He Himself, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself. That is what the essence of the Torah is, and the essence of Shabbos. And that's why the giving of the Torah was referred to as a kiss on the mouth. Neshikas pihu. Now, let's let him explain it first before I add in my own part. Shaloshayich neshika derech shliach. Shimzeh derech shliach einzu neshikas pihu. You can't have a kiss. Somebody says a kiss with a shliach. Is that really a kiss? No. The shliach is the one giving the kiss. Not the one who's sending you with, right? I'm sending a kiss, but the one who's giving the kiss is the one who is the shliach. You can't really, right? It's not the same. That's not called neshika's piyu. Hu adin Shabbos kodesh mivareres b'koach hachidush es akvoidu ba'atzmo hareza neshika's piyu l'Yisrael b'kol Shabbos b'Shabbos. Because Shabbos is HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself coming into the world. So this means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us that connection, right? We talked about how Shabbos is a gift of love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Klal Yisrael. So every Shabbos, Hashem gives us this kiss of connection. Ma nifla minhag amir shir shirim im knisas HaShabbos. And that's why many people have a minhag to say shir shirim before Kabbalah Shabbos. Shabbos comes in because that's what shir shirim is about. It's about the connection between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. I just want to add one point about this. In other places, maybe even in Shabbos Malchus as well, but certainly I saw in other places, the Rapinkas talks about the idea of Neshikas Piyu. The idea of Neshikas Piyu is a very, very deep idea. I think we definitely did discuss this when we spoke about the death of Moshe Rabbeinu. We spoke about how a Neshika has to be from your mouth, because otherwise, what's the Neshika? A kiss means that it's coming from your mouth. So what does it mean, a Neshikas Piyu? What does that mean? So what it means a kiss on the mouth. It means it's a kiss that's mouth to mouth. That's what it means. Because you can have a Neshika that's not Piyu. That means it's a kiss, but the kiss is somewhere else. You kiss somebody's forehead. So that's also a kiss, but it's not a mouth-to-mouth kiss. Now, why is that significant? Why is it nishikas piu? Because the piu, the peh, the mouth, is the source of our breath, right? It's the source of our life. The person needs to breathe. You stop breathing for a little while and you'll be dead, right? It's the most important thing that a person does physically in his life is breathe. If you can go a number of days without eating. You can go a while without drinking, but you can only go a few minutes without breathing. The breath, that's where the neshama is connected. So when you have a kiss on the mouth, what it is that the neshamas are connecting to each other. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he says, I'm giving a nishikas piu, he's coming to say, from my very essence to your very essence. Our neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. That's what the nishikas piu means. That connection is not on the outside. It's from our very depth. It's from who we are. That's what nishikas piu means. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing for us on Shabbos. Take advantage of it. Valkein Omru. We'll finish always Zayin here. Valkein Omru kol hama'aneg et Shabbos noisnin lo nachlas b'li mitzarim. It says that anybody who enjoys the Shabbos, he is given a inheritance that has no boundaries. Shekol sugit HaShabbos ki ha-b'kvoide ba'atzmo k'v'yochol. U'sham hakol ein sofiot u'bli gvulos klal. Because a person who enjoys the Shabbos, meaning he enjoys the Shabbos for Hashem, he enjoys the Shabbos to enjoy the Shekhinah coming in. Now we do that through food as well, but we're doing it in order to enjoy Hashem. We're not eating the food. We shouldn't be eating the food just for eating the food. We should be eating the food so we enjoy Hashem. We should enjoy the connection to Hashem on this day. Person who does that, bali mitzarim nachala, without borders, is his nachala. He has endless reward that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give him. Because why? Because when the king sees, we're so happy that you're the king. We're so happy that you're with us, that you're our master, you're our king. Well, that's what the king wants to see. He wants to see that you're happy with me. If you're happy with me, then I'm going to be giving to you too. Okay. Not ois. Number 8. Ches. Ani mamin be'emunah shalema shekol ha'torah mitzuya ata b'yadeinu hi nesuna leMoshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom. We believe with a complete faith that the Torah that was given in our hands was the Torah that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom, which means there was nothing new. Hanoise kan, the idea over here. Ha'im yitochin shenidaravu al toich Torah chalakim shehem lo me'haboire. Is it possible that things snuck into the Torah that were not from Hashem Himself? Ela toisvos me inshe delo male shechnizu devarim b'shem Hashem alo asher lo diber. Is it possible that people snuck in a few lines over here? They snuck in something that wasn't from Hashem? Could it be something that wasn't from Hashem was snuck into the Torah? I'll tell you, I had a very interesting discussion with one of our good friends. I won't say his name, but we know who he is. It was a ger. And I was sitting next to him at a Sheva Brachos earlier this week, Sunday night. And we got into a conversation about his journey. And he told me that he grew up Catholic, which he said more or less meant that he was secular. And he really didn't believe in God so much. And whatever connection he had to his religion was very weak. And one of the things that really got him going was what he called, he turned to the front of the book, right? You see, there's the Bible. There's a Bible, right? So the Bible, for those of you who don't know, there's what they call the Old Testament, which is our Torah HaKadoshah, Tanakh. And then there are people who added in something. Like we asked over here, is it possible that somebody thinking something was added? There's a new Chelek. Well, not really. But that's the question that Rebuke is asking. Is it possible that they snuck something in, that somebody else snuck something in? So he told me that their clergy, their leadership doesn't like it that for people to go look at the first part, the first book. right? The beginning of the book. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to stay in the second half. Don't look at the first half. It's when he started looking at the first half that he's like, whoa, all of a sudden a whole new world had just opened up. A whole new world. Wow, I didn't know any of this. God created the world. How about that? There was a garden in Eden. There was Abraham. There was Isaac. Wow, there was the Jews. There were Jews. Wow. A whole new world. They didn't know. He didn't know. Right? For a lot of people out there, they only have what they call the later half. Right? We know that's not from Moshe. That's not from the Nevi'im. That was a something that has no shaykhs to the Rebbeinu Shalom. But is it possible somebody snuck in a word over here? Is it possible? Since the Torah itself came through Moshe in the form of b'kvoidoi uba'atzmo, he himself, the Rebbeinu Shalom himself, put himself into the Torah and gave us the Torah, so that if you want to know what Hashem wants, look in the Torah. V'hi bris ava bein Hashem Yisborach liYisrael. This Torah is that connection of love between us. Harei hu Yisborach achrei ala bris kamonu. He, Rebbeinu Shalom, is just as much a party of this connection as we are. He's responsible also. Just like we swore that we are not going to give up the Torah. Right? There's a halacha l'maisa that Klal Yisrael took a shvuah that they're going to keep the Torah. Why is it halacha l'maisa? Obviously, halacha l'maisa, we took a shvuah, we have to keep the Torah, right? But it's brought down in other places in Masechah Shavuos that if a person takes a shvuah to do a mitzvah, person he says and can take a shvuah to do this and this mitzvah, the shvuah is not chal. It doesn't have a din shvuah. So therefore, if he doesn't do that mitzvah, not only, if the shvuah would be chal, so then what would happen is, if he didn't do the mitzvah, not only would be a bittul aseh, but he'd be over on the shvuah also. And there could be repercussions of that. But the din is that there is no shvuah. Why not? Because your mushva v'oimed mahar Sinai, we already have a shvuah. A shvuah cannot be chal on another shvuah. You can't have one shvuah on something you already have a shvuah on. That's untrue by a neder. A neder you could have multiple on the same thing, but by a shvuah it's not. And therefore we already took a shvuah. We took a shvuah that we're going to keep the Torah. There are very interesting halachic nafkaminas. Maybe one day we'll do the sugya for certain places. If shvuah is chal, depends on what was the shvuah on Har Sinai. Chala, okay, a different time. Alam d'shishir. Kemo kein yesh hitchayvut kezu mitzido yisbarach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has responsibility as well to make sure that nobody gets into our connection with him. There's no such thing as this connection, this bris, only one-sided. This is the guarantee that we have that the Torah will last forever. In all of its details, it will last forever. Yes, sometimes we forget halachas. Sometimes we don't know. We have sveikas. We don't know what the din is. Tishbi, Yane, Akushu, Subayos. Well, hopefully when Mashiach comes, we'll be able to answer all the questions that we have and the sugyas we don't know. And we'll be able to answer, we have Avedas, we don't know who to return them to. We'll be able to return them. But the Torah itself is whole. It is nitzchi. It is eternal. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu guaranteed that to us. So since from his side, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not made for his bris. He is not stepping back. He's not giving up this connection with us. Shomer as a Torah, but also Vishleimusa. Therefore, he is also going to guard the Torah in its purity and its completeness. And if there would be anything, any form of of fakeness, of something false, a forgery, shkoach, in the Torah, then it would be a forgery in our connection of love with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because that connection is totally on it being pure just between us and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem Himself is standing there and making sure nothing's going to happen to my Torah. Nothing will happen to my Torah. Very interesting. A very interesting point. I'm going to tell you an interesting medrash here. Fascinating medrash. The medrash says by Shlomo Melech that Shlomo Melech married many, many wives. Yeah. Many more than the halacha mandates for a king. Many more. More than 30 times the amount, Berech, between the Pilagshim and the Nosh and his wives. He had many, many, many wives. Many more than the 18 that is described in the Sugya in Sanhedrin. And not only that, he also sent messengers to Egypt to buy horses, which also it says in the Torah that it's not supposed to be done. The king is not supposed to be doing either one of those things. Listen to what the Medrash says. The Medrash says that Sefer Dvarim comes in front of a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Sefer Dvarim, and says, Shlomo is making a mockery out of me. Why? Because it says, Shlomo said you only weren't allowed to do this because it was going to bring you astray from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was going to pull you away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shlomo's like, nobody's going to bring me astray from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nobody's going to pull me away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So for me, it's okay. I'm allowed to do it. Because I'm not going to be pulled away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what his svar was. Anav Mikol Adam. So Dvarim, Sefer Dvarim comes in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, Shlomo's making a mockery out of me. So Hashem says to Sefer Dvarim, better him and all those, and 1,000 like him, or I'm not exactly sure what the measure is, him and all those like him should be abolished, should be gone, and not one letter of my Torah should be bottled. And right after that, the Navi says something about Shlomo that I saw, I think Rapinka says in a different sefer. It says Rapinka would rather have jumped into like a garbage can than have this written about him in the Navi. And it says in the Navi that the wives of Shlomo brought him astray. And the Gemara says, Chazal tell us that he really wasn't. He really didn't. But it was kiviyachol because he thought about it, but the Navi already says it. He says he would rather have done anything than have that written about him in the nevuah. But Lamaise, not one letter of the Torah changes. Not one letter. Doesn't matter how big you are. Doesn't matter. You're Shlomo Melech. Yitzchak and Yaakov. Not one letter changes in the Torah. So that's what he's saying. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mikvoid v'atmo. Nothing changes. Where are we in the last paragraph here?
Yeah.
So too, just like the Torah is like this connection of love between the HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael, so too Shabbos is this connection between Klal Yisrael and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bris HaTorah hi muchrachas mikoyach hachiba or muchrachas me'etam habriya. Because the bris of the Torah has to be that way because of the love that is in the creation itself. Kekola means bar, like everything we said before. Al-Kain, Shabbos Nitzan Torah. That's why it was on Shabbos that the Torah was given. Well, on Shabbos, everyone agrees. The Gemara in Shabbos has a machlokes which calendar date it was, but it certainly was given on Shabbos. Amru Chazal, lo nitnu Shabbosos ela lo'osek behem b'Torah. Shabbos was given for us to be oisek in Torah. The Shabbos Atma Nikras Bris Oilam. Shabbos itself is called the bris that's forever. She'ikar Mahusa Shabbos hi a bris Torah bein Hashem Yisbarach la'amo, because that's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is that connection, that gateway that HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes in, and that's that bris of Torah, because the Torah is Hashem Himself. And that's why Torah, the best time, or Shabbos was given for learning Torah, because this is it. This is the gateway. Connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How are we connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? With the Torah, obviously, because that's the kvoido u be'atzmo. That's what the Torah is. Okay, stop over here. Shkoach.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations, and produced by Ellie Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.